Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what absolutely has to be one of the most intense, unpredictable, and downright chaotic opening nights in modern sports history. We're talking about the 2026 World Cup opening match. This was supposed to be the ultimate, highly polished global celebration, but instead, it delivered just an incredible amount of whiplash. We are going to explore exactly how the pristine expectation that was meticulously constructed for billions of television viewers completely collided with a raw, unscripted reality, one that unfolded both on the pitch and right outside the stadium gates.
So what actually went down at Mexico versus South Africa? Well, it was a grand, highly produced opening night that instantly spiraled into something literally nobody could have written. Think about it. When you're the host nation and the governing body, you spend years scripting out every single second of this evening to project absolute perfection. But as we're about to see, sports, politics, and raw human emotion have a funny way of tearing up the script and forcing us to watch the chaotic reality instead.
Talk about duality. On one hand, you had the incredible glitz inside the stadium. You've got global superstar Shakira, an unannounced parade of celebrities, bright lights, and just choreographed perfection. But in stark, jarring contrast, right outside the stadium gates, you had riot police, Molotov cocktails, and literal fires burning. It was like two totally different universes. You had a manufactured, glossy television broadcast happening literally yards away from profound civil unrest. Let's break down exactly how this happened.
Section 1. FIFA's flawed grand opening.
4. That is the record-breaking number of times Shakira has now headlined a World Cup opening ceremony. It's a record absolutely nobody else holds, and FIFA really didn't stop there. They threw an unannounced celebrity parade at the crowd, bringing out Andre Bocelli, Mana, Burna Boy, and Salma Hayek to welcome the world. Now on paper, sure, it was a star-studded dream, but in reality, honestly, to a lot of people, it felt like a bloated, disconnected celebrity parade that completely misread the actual environment it was taking place in.
And here is where the irony really sets in. Mexican fans were reporting ticket prices surging over $3,000 just to watch their own national team. They were financially priced out of their own historic stadium. And for the folks who tried to celebrate down in the city, the giant Zocalo fan zone nearly turned into a crush before authorities had to slam it shut at a 50,000-person capacity. The world's biggest party was happening, but a huge chunk of the local Mexican population was either financially or physically locked out of the whole shebang.
The disconnect gets even wilder. FIFA mandated guaranteed cooling breaks to prioritize player hydration in the heat, which makes sense. But just a week prior, they tried to ban fans from bringing their own water bottles into the venues. It literally took severe political backlash to force a reversal on that policy. So the players get guaranteed water, but the paying fans are initially told no? It perfectly highlights the hypocrisy of the organizing body on night one. I mean, you really have to read the room.
Section 2. The streets outside the Azteca.
Now, a crucial piece of this puzzle is understanding who was protesting outside and why. Based on the reports, there were several varied factions out there, each with deep, long-standing grievances. You had thousands of teachers who had traveled in demanding better pay and pension reform. You had the families of the disappeared, carrying photos, actively using the world's absolute biggest stage to demand the attention they've been seeking for years. And you had locals who were furious, arguing that the city only received superficial, glossy paint jobs for the TV cameras while deeper systemic issues were being completely ignored. They deliberately timed these camps and marches to utilize that global spotlight.
And unfortunately, that tension escalated into intense physical clashes. Around 200 hooded protesters engaged directly with riot police. Molotov cocktails and bottles filled with flammable liquid were actually thrown near Gate 8. It was a severe enough situation that police completely locked the area down, and authorities confirmed the arrest of a 28-year-old woman who, for context, was later released. It was an incredibly complex, intense socio-political reality playing out while pop music blasted right on the other side of the concrete walls.
Section 3. Pure chaos on the pitch.
Okay, let's shift gears to the match itself, because the South African team's story is a total testament to resilience. Just to step foot onto the pitch, they had to overcome an absolute logistical nightmare. Step 1, a stranded flight in Johannesburg. Step 2, a massive visa crisis for their traveling party, where they were actually told they might miss the opening match entirely. Then, once the game finally starts, Step 3, they find themselves playing with 10 men, and eventually Step 4, just 9 men. A team that traveled halfway across the world through a nightmare scenario could have easily just folded. But they didn't. They kept their shape, they kept pressing, and they fought valiantly right through the chaos.
But their start, it was devastatingly fast.
Inside the very first 10 minutes, South Africa's Sifiwe Tshabalala made an unforced error on the edge of his own box. Julian Quinones immediately pounced, driving a low right foot right into the net. Just like that, 1-0. The very first goal of the 2026 World Cup was gifted by a mistake, and it was swiftly followed by a red card for Tshabalala, instantly dropping South Africa down to 10 men.
But amidst all this swirling chaos, think about the number 6. It has been 6 arduous years since Mexico's Raúl Jiménez fractured his skull in a horrific collision over in England. That injury required emergency surgery, and there was real, profound doubt over whether he would ever be able to play professional football again. And that context brings us to the emotional peak of the entire match. Here is a 35-year-old Jiménez wearing his now signature protective headgear, not only playing but scoring his first ever World Cup goal at the Azteca. Just months before this tournament, he lost his father. After scoring, he pointed straight to the sky, visibly in tears. Over 80,000 people in the stadium understood in real time exactly what they were witnessing. Against the backdrop of a heavily manufactured circus, the immense weight of this deeply human moment truly landed. Whatever else happened on this night, that moment was incredibly, undeniably real.
But, as we know, the chaos ramped right back up. The game rapidly descended into what basically became a vicious brawl. We already mentioned Tshabalala's early red. Then, South Africa's substitute Demba Zwane is sent off following a VAR review for catching a Mexican player in the face. Down to 9 men? Finally, in stoppage time, Mexico's Cesar Montes makes a reckless lunge and sees red himself. That is 3 red cards in an opening match, a 9 versus 10-man brawl that ultimately ended in a 2-0 victory for Mexico.
To put that into perspective, to truly understand how incredibly rare and ugly 3 red cards in an opener is, think back to the infamous Battle of Nuremberg from the 2006 World Cup. That match holds the all-time tournament record for producing 4 red cards. The fact that the 2026 opener came just 1 single card short of equaling a 20-year-old benchmark of chaos on night 1 is absolutely staggering. Opening matches are usually tense, they're cautious. This was a street fight.
Section 4. A warning or a promise?
And honestly, you really can't talk about the absurdity of this match without mentioning this moment. FIFA had this big new idea for transparency, right? Having referees explain VAR decisions out loud to the stadium. So Brazilian referee Wilton Sampaio steps up to the mic to explain a red card to 80,000 expectant fans, and his English completely buckles. The live audio comes out totally garbled. Half the stadium has absolutely no idea what he just said, and the clip of this dark comedy was racing around the internet before the final whistle even blew.
One piece of coverage completely hit the nail on the head, describing it as a transparency tool that produced pure confusion. Honestly, you literally could not write a cleaner metaphor for FIFA's entire flawed opening night. They tried to perfectly engineer an experience, and the raw, unpredictable human element completely scrambled the signal.
So, that leaves us with one massive final question. Is chaos a warning or a promise? The opening night loudly announced that this tournament will definitely not be quiet. Riot police, Molotovs, a player crying over a goal 6 years in the making, and a referee losing a live fight with a microphone. None of it was scripted. But maybe, just maybe, this unscripted madness isn't a flaw in the system. Maybe it's the exact reason the sport matters so much to so many people. What do you think? Is this level of chaos a warning for the weeks ahead, or a promise of unforgettable drama? Let me know your thoughts, and thanks so much for joining me on this